Okay, the Dream Council. So this Dream Council began, um, and we started it by asking, oh, if any of the men had had a dream last night or a dream that they wanted to share with the group. And we took the point of view that when a group of people come together consciously and ask for a dream, that whatever dream comes to whoever in the circle is for everyone. So it turns out there were four men, each who had had a dream. And so we asked each of the four men to, in a short version, a minute or two, describe the dream. You might call this the elevator pitch, or just the headlines of the content of the dream. And so each man did that, and then there are certain ways you can use to make the choice of which dream you're going to use, and I won't go into those here. But we wound up using a dream um, that was relayed to us by this 63-year-old man, and uh, and this is the dream as he pretty much told it. He said, I was approaching a big, big hill, and I was just tired of life. And for some reason, I had to get up that hill, and he said the hill was covered in snow and ice, and it was like a struggle to get up the hill. And somewhere on the way, he found these steps. It seemed like they were like stone slabs, blocks, like they were stairs leading up. So they were, in some sense, created by those who had gone before. And expecting relief, he went over to the trail and said, there's a way. And he started going up the steps. And as he put his weight on them, they all started to slide and go down this steep hill. So he very quickly had to jump off and get back off the trail and start climbing up in a whole bunch of steep, rocky area where the rocks were coated with ice, and it was very cold, and his hands were getting numb. Um, and so he eventually got to the top. And again, he finally got there, and he came to the top with that feeling life is just too hard. And there was a precipice, and he came to the edge of the precipice and thought, you know, all he had to do was step off. And life was too hard, but all he had to do was step off and it would be over. And he had the feeling, I just want to get it over. And then something called to him off on his left side. And when he turned and looked to the left, he saw the view, and he was just struck and overwhelmed by the beauty of it all. And it was just like so beautiful. He was just transfixed by that beauty. And also, then, as he looked to the left, in that direction, he saw a path. And he saw that path, and a voice said to him, here's a path. If you want to go back down, this path is really easy. Uh, and so that was the message. He came there tired of life, ready to die, and then he was struck by the beauty and this voice like, well, if you really want to go back, here's a path, and it's really easy. So he shared that dream, and 15 other people were listening to it. And so, in the form of working the dream that we used and were familiar with, he tells the dream, but he doesn't tell the meaning of it. So at that point, the talking stick gets passed around to his left. So so that every man in that circle then holds the talking stick and says, if I had that dream, each person taking his own perspective, if I had that dream, what it would say to me is, and when the one man is finished speaking about that, then he hands it to the next person who says, well, if I had that dream, what it would say to me is, and so this progression around the circle of 16 people, and each person is having heard that dream is seeing it through his own lens. No one is saying, oh, this is what it means. Everyone is saying, if I'd have had it, this is what it would mean to me. And so as the talking stick goes around, the kind of depth of it and the kind of layers of different perspectives just keep growing and growing and growing. And eventually it travels all around the circle, and 15 people have given their um, views on it, seeing it through their lens, and then it gets back to the person who told the dream, and then he, having heard all of that, gets asked for the first time if he had had that dream, which he did. What would it say to him? And so anyway, that happened, and then we had another round, and in the second round, it was more like, having heard all this, having heard 16 different versions of what it might mean to other people, having heard all that, is there anything new that you want to add about that dream? And so it went around. Some people didn't add anything. There was nothing new, but other people had been inspired by, all those voices of what it meant before, and they added, even more and more layers of depth. And so we ended after 2 rounds, and believe me, it could have gone more because it kept on getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So I want to say one of the things that appeared, one of the lessons, and this is one that struck me particularly, and it struck a few other people, was this sense of, first of all, at the beginning, the man says, I'm just tired of life. I don't have it in me to do anymore. And so, but he's moved to climb up this mountain. Now, in his mind, he's climbing up to jump off and end his life. But immediately there's a kind of contradiction between, how he sees it in his mind and how it is in reality. Because honestly, if you're really that tired of life, so tired of life you don't want to do it anymore, you sure don't have the energy to climb a mountain. So but anyway, so in his mind, he's tired of life, but somehow he's drawn to climb this mountain, and it's a hard climb. The path that everyone else has taken doesn't work. And he sort of has to get off the trail and find his own way. And when he gets up, there is a precipice, and he could end it. And that's what he came for. And then he looks off to his left, and all of a sudden, he just sees the immense beauty from being up there. He sees the immense beauty, and also this lesson, there's an easy path if you want to go back. So one of the lessons that I got from that, and it's a lesson that I often speak about, it's one of the lessons from Carlos Castaneda. And one of the things Carlos Castaneda often said was, you can make yourself miserable, or you can make yourself strong. The amount of work is the same. So, as applied to that dream, we could just say, life is hard. Life is hard. We struggle through it. Things sometimes go the way we want, but often life is intense, it's hard, it's suffering. And so that's like that's like the climbing of the hill. It seems endless. What's the point? And we climb the hill as if it's like the road to our death. And then we get up the hill and there's death in front of us. And then we look and we see, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Um, and here's an easy path if you want to go back. Um, so I want to say what that means. So one of the lessons, and there's really a couple of them that I want to share with you. The first lesson is, yeah, you can make yourself miserable, or you can make yourself strong. The amount of work is the same. So what I saw, I mean, it's the process itself. Climbing the icy hill um, is not any easier or harder. Yeah, you could be climbing it intending to kill yourself and end your life, but the climb is still hard. Or you could be climbing yourself to see the grand vision, but the climb is still hard. The amount of work is the same. And so, to me, one of the real lessons, and it certainly applies to our life and what's going on in the world now, is it's how you climb the hill. Yeah, so if you climb, the amount of work is the same. But if I climb the hill thinking, oh, life sucks, nothing will work out, poor me, I never get anywhere, that climb makes me miserable. But it makes me miserable because of the monologue and the story in my head. The amount of work of climbing is the same. So I could climb with the sense, I'm such a victim. I could climb with a sense of hopelessness. I could climb with a sense of anxiety and fear. And all of those things will make me miserable. But I could climb, the climb's the same. I could climb thinking, oh my God, what a beautiful view I'm going to get at the top. So I could climb with a sense of hope. I could climb saying, oh my God, this is hard, but I'm going to get in really good shape. Almost like that the climbing was making my life better, making me stronger, making me more capable. I could make myself miserable or I could make myself strong. So the climb is the climb, but the experience of the climb can uplift you or just throw you into the pits of grief and despair. But that is up to you. Okay. The second lesson. Um, okay. I just paused to get a little more ice on I can see getting fatter face, and I can see the kind of the blood coming out my lip here. But anyway, uh, the second lesson for me was a couple of weeks back. I had gone with my partner to the Anza Borrego Desert in southeast California. And while I was there, I had a beautiful image of my life. And it's kind of related to this dream. So at one point, I was on a high hill and morning had come, and I could look down through a valley. And on the other side of the valley, there was a mountain. And going up the mountain you could see it just a wash, a waterway that was just dry. And yeah, it's the desert, the Benadryl, but the wash was just full of all these big, enormous boulders. And you could see this dry wash kind of snaked up the side of the mountain, and it was like curving around, and then it disappeared behind the mountain. Um, And it could have come to a dead end, but it also could have snaked up and found a pass through and gotten into the next valley. So I just had this insight that I looked at that wash and said, that's my life. So in the early part of that, in that wash, it was full of all these big boulders. And like, for any of you who've done it, sometimes trying to climb a waterbed, you come to these enormous boulders and they're just huge obstacles, and it's hard to get up the side and get around them. And it's just difficult, difficult, difficult. As I looked at those boulders in that wash, I thought, yeah, that was my life. I could see those boulders as all the obstacles of my early life, all the obstacles of my childhood, all of the obstacles, and I won't go into the details of having to live with my father and his anger and what had happened to him in his life that kind of got passed on to me. And all the obstacles of my mother, this totally frightened woman who expected her kids to take care of her and make her safe. So she had essentially no interest in reaching out to her kids. She only had interest in her kids serving her. So I kind of could. So I was kind of like really reliving almost as I watched that. Oh my God, those kind of boulders in that, and the difficulty of that, and then as I looked at it and imagined, all of these memories started to come back to me. Yeah, I mean, I was from my childhood, my adolescence, my even, late adolescence. Like, I was sexually molested twice. I was beaten. Um, I was punched in the face and told that I was a rotten son, that I had caused my father's heart attacks. I was shamed by, in a really horrible, nasty way, by the women in several of my early relationships. I had no self-esteem at all, and this kind of toxic shame overwhelmed me. And as I looked at that bouldered wash, I all of these memories came back of how that was and how kind of devastated and pained that child, that young man was. And as they came back, on the one hand, I was really stunned. It's like stunned because, wow, I'd forgotten that. Wow, I'd forgotten that. And just all of these memories came back that I had mostly forgotten. But when they came back, it was just like, on the one hand, yeah, there was this momentary shock at how many of them there were and how awful some of them were. But other than the surprise of it and the recognition of it, like, if you had asked me at that point, how do you feel about all that? I would have said, kind of neutral. It's just and I don't think that kind of neutral, that answer kind of neutral was because I was in denial or I wanted to push all those experiences away. No, the reason I felt kind of neutral is, yeah, that was me for 20 years and it was awful. But the reason I felt neutral is, but I haven't been that person for 3 to 4 decades. I'm not him. Because you can make yourself weak or you can make yourself strong. The amount of work is the same. During those first 25, 30 years, I was the victim. Oh my God, how could he do this? How could she do this to me? It's just like, oh, I could do this, but I don't have the courage. I'm too ashamed to even speak to people, and all. And thinking of that in terms of the wash and the boulders, um, and I worked at it, and I worked at it, and worked at it, and honestly, from at least probably the age of, I would say 37, where I celebrated my my transition from childhood to adulthood. I was not that kid anymore. And today, as I looked at that path up through that horribly path full of obstacles, and and then it kind of disappeared around the bend and up the mountainside and around the bend. It's just said no. For the last 35 years at least, I'm not that shame-filled kid. I'm not that I'm not that collection of it's hopeless and for the last 35 years, I'm not him. For the last 35 years, no, I'm the guy who makes it through. I'm the guy who finds the path into the next valley. And I will say for the last 35 years, when all of, yeah, the amount of work is the same, shit still happens. People are still people, and they still lie to you, and they express their shadow, and you're not treated with integrity. Shit still happens. But for the last 35 years, oh, the feeling is I'll grow from this. This is making me stronger. This is what I have to go through, and I have not felt like a victim in 35 years. And it's that feeling that makes you weak. And I have felt like, oh, this sucks, but I'm going to make it through. So I have felt like this will make me stronger. This going through these difficulties will make me wiser. Going through these difficulties will open my eyes to what reality really is, as opposed to what I think it should be. Um, so yeah, I want to just share that with you. It was a really important lesson to me this weekend at Mythic Warrior, uh, and I hope that you can find something in it that feels important to you as well. Aho, blessings on you, and yeah, live that dream. You are not what's happened to you. You are. You are the actions uh, in service of where you're going, and identify with that. Aho.